I'm about to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. But if you're a grandparent in today's world, you need to hear this. The rules have changed. And if you don't adapt, you risk losing access to the grandchildren you love more than anything. Here's what nobody wants to say out loud. The old ways of grandparenting don't work anymore. Showing up unannounced. Overruling parents. Spoiling kids without consequences. These things that seemed harmless 20 years ago? They're destroying family relationships right now. And in blended families, where step-parents and half-siblings complicate everything, the stakes are even higher. One wrong move and you're not just causing tension. You're creating rifts that can last for years. So why should you keep watching? Because I'm going to show you exactly how to navigate these new rules. How to maintain strong bonds with your grandchildren while respecting the boundaries that modern parents desperately need. And how to do it without feeling like you're walking on eggshells every single day. Let's start with the biggest mistake grandparents make today. They assume their experience raising kids gives them authority over their grandchildren. It doesn't. Not anymore. Think about it this way. You raised your children in a different era. Different challenges. Different threats. Different values. The world your grandchildren are growing up in bears little resemblance to the one you knew. Social media didn't exist when you were parenting. Neither did smartphones. Or the constant pressure of online bullying. Or the mental health crisis affecting 1 in 5 teenagers today. Your parenting playbook, as successful as it was, simply doesn't account for these modern realities. But here's where it gets tricky. Parents today are drowning in information. They have access to countless parenting books, podcasts, and expert opinions. They're making conscious choices about screen time, nutrition, discipline, and education that might differ completely from your approach. And when you question those choices, when you say things like "we never did it that way" or "you turned out fine," you're not offering wisdom. You're undermining their authority as parents. Now let's talk about blended families specifically. This is where things get exponentially more complicated. Because now you're not just dealing with your own children's parenting decisions. You're navigating relationships with step-parents, ex-partners, and children from multiple families. Here's a scenario that plays out constantly. Your son remarries. His new wife has 2 children from a previous marriage. Your biological grandchildren now have step-siblings. How do you treat everyone fairly? Do you give equal gifts to all the children? Do you show equal affection? The answer isn't simple. But here's what you absolutely cannot do. You cannot show obvious favoritism to your biological grandchildren. Children notice everything. They feel every slight. Every difference in treatment. And that creates resentment that poisons family dynamics. Some grandparents argue that it's natural to feel closer to biological grandchildren. And maybe that's true, but your feelings don't give you permission to hurt other children in the family. If you want to maintain a relationship with your biological grandchildren, you need to respect the entire family unit. This means treating step-grandchildren with genuine kindness. Not fake politeness. Not tolerance. Actual warmth and interest. Because those children are part of your grandchildren's daily lives. They're siblings, even if not by blood. And how you treat them directly affects your biological grandchildren's well-being. Let's move to another critical boundary. The permission boundary. This one seems obvious, but it's violated constantly. You need permission for almost everything when it comes to your grandchildren. Permission to visit. Permission to take them somewhere. Permission to give them sugar. Permission to post their photos online. Permission to teach them something new. Permission to buy them gifts. Does this feel excessive? Maybe. But here's why it matters. Every time you act without permission, you're telling the parents that your desires matter more than their rules. You're teaching the grandchildren that rules can be ignored when grandma or grandpa says so. And in blended families, this becomes even more sensitive. Because now you might need permission from both biological parents and step-parents. The custody arrangements might mean your grandchildren spend time in multiple households with different rules. Your actions in one household can create problems in another. Think about gift giving. You want to spoil your grandchildren. That's natural. But what if the other grandparents can't afford expensive gifts? What if the step-parent feels you're trying to buy the children's affection? What if your lavish gifts make the step-siblings feel less valued? The solution isn't to stop giving gifts. It's to communicate first. Ask the parents what's appropriate. Coordinate with other grandparents when possible. Consider giving experiences instead of things. Focus on creating memories rather than competing through material goods. Now here's a boundary that causes tremendous conflict. The advice boundary. You have decades of life experience. You've raised children successfully. You want to help. But unsolicited advice is one of the fastest ways to damage your relationship with your adult children. Why? Because advice, no matter how well-intentioned, often comes across as criticism. When you suggest a different approach to discipline, parents hear you don't trust my judgment. When you recommend a different feeding schedule, they hear you think I'm doing it wrong. This doesn't mean you can never offer guidance. But it needs to be requested. And it needs to be offered with humility. Phrases like "this worked for me" or "have you considered" don't trigger defensiveness the way you should statements do. In blended families, the advice boundary becomes even more delicate. You might see the step-parent doing something you disagree with. You might worry about how your grandchildren are being treated. But unless there is actual abuse or neglect, your role is not to intervene. Your role is to support your adult child as they navigate their new family structure. Let's talk about loyalty conflicts. This is huge in blended families. Your grandchildren might be caught between loving their step-parent and feeling loyal to their biological parent. The absolute worst thing you can do is add to that conflict. Never badmouth a step-parent to your grandchildren. Never make them feel guilty for caring about their step-siblings. Never force them to choose sides. These children are already dealing with complex emotions about their family situation. Your job is to be a stable, loving presence. Not another source of stress. Some grandparents struggle with this because they're angry about the divorce or remarriage. They blame the step-parent for breaking up the original family. They resent sharing their grandchildren with new family members. These feelings are understandable. But they cannot be expressed to or around the grandchildren. If you need to process those emotions, talk to a therapist. Talk to friends your own age. Journal about it. But never burden your grandchildren with adult conflicts they have no power to resolve. Here's another critical rule. The consistency boundary. Children thrive on consistency. They need to know what to expect. And when grandparents have completely different rules than parents, it creates confusion and behavioral problems. This doesn't mean you can't have special grandparent privileges. Staying up a little later. Having dessert before dinner occasionally. These small indulgences are part of what makes grandparent time special. But you cannot undermine core family values or major rules. If the parents limit screen time, you need to respect that. If they're teaching the children certain values, you need to reinforce them. If they're working on specific behaviors, you need to support their approach. Even if you disagree with their methods. In blended families, this gets complicated because different households might have different rules. Your grandchildren might be allowed certain things at their other parent's house that aren't allowed at your child's house. Your role is not to judge or compare. It's to respect the rules of the household your child has established. Let's address the elephant in the room. What if you genuinely believe that parents are making harmful choices? What if you're worried about your grandchildren's safety or well-being? First, distinguish between preferences and actual harm. You preferring different parenting methods is not harm. You disagreeing with their choices about schools, activities, or discipline is not harm. Harm is abuse, neglect, or danger. If you genuinely believe your grandchildren are in danger, you have a responsibility to act. But that action should start with a private, honest conversation with your adult child. Express your concerns clearly and specifically. Listen to their perspective. Try to understand what you might be missing. If that conversation doesn't resolve your concerns and you truly believe children are at risk, then yes, you may need to involve authorities. But understand that this decision will likely damage or end your relationship with your adult child. It's a last resort, not a first response to disagreements. Now let's talk about what good boundaries actually look like in practice. Good boundaries aren't about building walls. They're about creating healthy space for everyone to thrive. Good boundaries mean asking before visiting instead of showing up unannounced. They mean offering to help and accepting no as an answer. They mean biting your tongue when you disagree with minor parenting decisions. They mean treating all children in the family with genuine respect and affection. Good boundaries mean apologizing when you overstep. And you will overstep. Everyone does. The difference between grandparents who maintain strong relationships and those who don't isn't perfection. It's the willingness to acknowledge mistakes and adjust behavior. In blended families, good boundaries also mean staying neutral in conflicts between the adults. Your adult child might vent to you about their ex or their new spouse. Listen with empathy, but don't fan the flames. Don't take sides in ways that create more drama. Be a calming presence, not an agitator. Here's something that might surprise you. Strong boundaries actually lead to closer relationships. When parents trust that you'll respect their rules, they're more likely to want you involved. When children see you treating everyone fairly, they feel safer with you. When you demonstrate that you can adapt and learn, you become someone the whole family values. Think about the alternative. Grandparents who refuse to respect boundaries often find themselves gradually excluded. Visits become less frequent. Phone calls get shorter. Eventually, they're kept at arm's length because they've proven they can't be trusted to honor the family's needs. So how do you actually implement these boundaries? Start with communication. Have an honest conversation with your adult children about expectations. Ask them what they need from you. Share what you hope for in terms of your relationship with your grandchildren. Find common ground. Be specific. Don't just say I want to respect your boundaries. Ask what their boundaries actually are. How much notice do they want before visits? What topics are off limits? How should you handle disagreements? What role do they want you to play in discipline? In blended families, this conversation needs to include step-parents. Yes, that might feel awkward. But step-parents are raising your grandchildren day in and day out. Their input matters. And including them in the conversation shows respect for their role in the family. Finally, let's talk about the long game. Your grandchildren are watching how you handle all of this. They're learning from you what it means to be a family member. What it means to respect others. What it means to adapt and grow. When you respect boundaries, you're teaching them that love includes respect. When you treat step-family members kindly, you're teaching them that family is about more than blood. When you apologize for mistakes, you're teaching them humility and accountability. These lessons will shape who they become. They'll influence how they treat their own families someday. Your legacy isn't just the memories you create. It's the values you model through your actions. Modern grandparenting requires more flexibility than previous generations needed. It requires more communication. more self-awareness, more willingness to adapt. But the reward is worth it. Strong, healthy relationships with your grandchildren that last a lifetime. The families that thrive today are the ones where everyone respects each other's roles. Where grandparents offer support without control. Where parents appreciate wisdom without feeling judged. Where children feel loved by everyone without being caught in conflicts. You have the power to be that kind of grandparent. The kind who enriches your grandchildren's lives without complicating them. The kind who supports the whole family unit, not just your biological connections. The kind who adapts to the times while maintaining the timeless qualities of love, stability, and presence. The rules have changed. But your importance in your grandchildren's lives doesn't. Embrace the new boundaries. Learn the new dynamics. And watch your relationships with your grandchildren flourish in ways you never imagined possible.